Hello everybody, this is Mason in 3D, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to take a model from Maya and list it as a product on Fab to make a little bit of passive income. So as you can see here, I've got my little indoor plant model in Maya, and I've already linked up all of my textures that I created in Substance Painter, and this is where we're going to be starting from today. So you can see I've already linked my textures to this model. So once you have a model with textures, the next thing that I want you to do is I've created a brand new folder for this demonstration. And within this folder, I'm going to create another one, and I'm just going to call it whatever the name of your model is, just to stay organized as you start to list more and more models. I'm creating a folder for all my indoor plant files to live within. Then inside of that, this is where Fab cares about what you name these things. So you're going to create one folder called source. This is going to contain your FBX file eventually. And then you're also going to create one folder called textures. And then once you have those two folders created, you're going to go ahead and head back to Maya. So now we're going to make sure we have all of our models selected. I always like just dragging a box to make sure. And then you're going to click File, Export Selection. Now you want to make sure it's an FBX import, and you want to make sure Include Texture Info is checked. And now I'm going to click Export Selection. And on this screen, it's important to scroll down until you see Embed Media right here. And then make sure that embed media is checked. If this is not checked, then your model will export entirely untextured. So this needs to be checked. And then you're going to go ahead and find that folder that you just created, Indoor Plant, and go to the source and then name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it Indoor Plant FBX, and then click Export Selection. And that's all you need to do in Maya, is just export this FBX. Sweet. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna head on over. Oh, actually, one more step. Sweet, we've got our FBX in the source, but we also need to make sure that we have our textures in the textures folder. So wherever your textures happen to live, I happen to know that my textures exist in source images. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy these 4 plant textures. You'll probably have a base color, metallic, normal, and roughness. So copy all your textures into that textures folder. Sweet. So we have our 4 textures in the textures folder, and we have our FBX in the source folder. That's all you really need for now. Then you're going to head on over to fab.com. And once you head on over to Fab, just make sure that you log in, and you'll see this little tab that says Publish. Now when you go to Publish and click Listings, if it's your first time, it's probably going to have you fill out some information about your account and your banking info. But once you get past all that, if this is your first model, you're going to have nothing listed here. But you will see these buttons up top that say Create Product and Migrate Listings. You're going to go ahead and click Create Product. Now, most of the time, there's going to be a 3D product, like a mesh. So I click 3D and then confirm selection. And now you're going to get to create this new listing for this product that you just exported from Maya. So before I choose my title and my price and everything, I always like checking similar products on Fab. So let's see if I search indoor plant. There's going to be so many of these. It's always good to make a little bit more niche models than something like a plant, but that's what I have for the demonstration today. Now you see these are all from about like the $5 to $12 range. Mine's a little bit more stylized, so I might try to research some stylized indoor plants. This is, I think, more along the vein of what I created, and these are all about $1. I'm probably gonna list mine. I'm thinking for maybe about $2 or $3. I'll do $2 on this because it's not like it's a incredibly detailed high fidelity model. And I'm going to go ahead and call it Stylized Indoor Plant. I could maybe call it Stylized Potted Plant. But it really doesn't matter too much what you title it. It just depends. That's just going to make more people be able to see it when they're searching for something similar. I'm going to go ahead and call it Stylized Indoor Plant. And then there's a section to fill out a description here. I use the same descriptions on all of my listings and just change the important detail. So I generally just go back to some of my old listings, like sure, this one's fine. And I copy this description, which I basically just say, here's a real-time stylized indoor potted plant model set up with PBR textures and clean topology. And then I'll just go ahead and copy and paste this here. I'm basically just saying, okay, here's what the model is. It's 3D, it's quads and tris, it's got textures and materials, not rigged, not animated, but it's got properly mapped UVs. So I've got my title, I've got my description, 3D, category. Now you kind of got to figure out your own category for whatever sort of model you've been creating, but obviously this is just a plant. Now, if you want it to be free, you can choose Creative Commons, but generally you want it to at least cost a couple bucks or something. So you're going to want to choose standard license, and then you select a personal price and a professional price. Now the personal price is if someone's just using it for their own personal use, so this is always going to be a cheaper one. I'm just going to go ahead and set this at $2. Professional price is if someone wants to purchase it and use it in a game or something that they're going to be making money off of. So I generally just like double what it is. So if I listed this one for $2, I'll say if somebody wants it professionally, they gotta pay $4. Tags again help with discoverability. So anything that you think may be related. So for example, if someone's searching for vegetation, I might want them to discover my potted plant. Or indoor, or maybe decor. I liked decorative too. And then stylized. Oop. These are just all good for discoverability. Sweet, so that's like some of the basic info. Thumbnail image. Now I'm just going to use a prop sheet that I've already created for this. If you really are trying to, market and sell a really good model, it's better to like graphically design, get some high quality renders. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just using a prop sheet I already created for the thumbnail. And then in your media gallery, this is where you include any sorts of renders and wireframes, and I always like to include the 3D model itself. So first, let's just go ahead and upload that same image I used on the thumbnail. This is where you want to upload all your highest quality renders to try to convince people to buy it. And then, like I said, I always like including the 3D model, not only for people to know what they're buying, but also to make sure that the export worked correctly. So this is where we're really going to see if the export worked. So I've chosen that FBX that I kicked out of Maya. I'm going to click confirm. And for the longest time, I used Blender to embed all the textures because I didn't think Maya could do it. So I'd always kick everything over to Blender and then embed the textures there and export from there. But I recently learned that you can just embed them in Maya with that simple setting. So as this processes, once we'll be able to see it finish loading, we're going to get a 3D preview of the model and all the textures on top of it. Now while we're waiting for this, let's go ahead and fill out the final bit of details. No, don't create a forum post. No, it's not mature. Do not allow AI. It was not created with AI, and it's not promotional. So here we go. Here's all the details done, and our model has loaded. Let's go ahead and click play. Now the model's always going to look a little bit worse in this viewport, but as long as it properly demonstrates, the shape of it and all the textures that you have, then everything is going to be perfect. Now the final step that we need to do is actually to include the files themselves. So once this page is all filled out, you're going to click Add New Format. And I generally do an FBX format and a Blender format, but today we just set up for FBX. So I'm going to click FBX. And there's one more step we need to do before uploading files, is we need to go back to here, select our source and texture folders together, and compress them to a zip file. And I'll call this indoor plant again. So now this zip file contains everything that the end user is going to want. It's got their FBX and it's got all the textures in it. And this zip file is what we want to upload at this step. So choose a file, and I'm going to choose this zip file. And then go ahead and click confirm. And then it's going to extract a bunch of information about the mesh itself. It'll tell how many triangles it has, how many textures it uses, and often this stuff is totally wrong. So if you actually care about it being accurate, like I know this only used 4 textures, not 8. If you care about being accurate, you can look over it. I don't really care that much. 43 meshes sounds about right with all these leaves. So I kind of just hope for the best that this is right. And then you can try clicking submit for a review right now, but it really likes it if you convert it to all these separate formats, and it's super easy to do, so it's worth doing it. So you're going to go ahead and select the file that you're already using, and it's going to convert it to these formats, which will make more people be able to use it in more contexts. It's going to load up another 3D preview again. And while this is loading, I'll just remind you that I'm planning on making a lot more 3D tutorials on this channel moving on. So if you guys want to go ahead and give this a like if this has been helpful, and hit subscribe if you want to see some more useful 3D tutorials, that would mean a lot. But here we go. Any moment now, this should be loading a 3D preview. And once it does, we're just going to have to click convert files one more time, get everything in order, and after that we'll click submit for review. So like I said, this should be the same type of preview that we have. We're going to click convert files. It's going to convert the FBX into the GLTF, GLB, and USDZ format. Alright, it finished. And that's it. That's all you need to do. So we've got now 4 formats of this. We've got all the correct information. We've got prices listed. We've got a thumbnail image. We've got media. All from Maya, and all in that short amount of time. So we're good to go. We're going to click submit for review. I always choose automatic publication, which means as soon as they review it, it's going to publish automatically, and click confirm. And it has been successfully submitted for review. So now if you go back to your listings and refresh the page, you'll see that your most recent post appears right here, pending approval, and Fab will send you an email, and probably in about 2 to 3 minutes, this will change from pending approval to live, and people will be able to buy your model. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Hope this was helpful, and have a wonderful day.